Alright, hello and welcome back. So, if you have persevered with the adventures of Jin until the end of Shadows of Arm, I thank you very much for your time, and I hope you've enjoyed the rather epic journey we've been on, as much as I have enjoyed making it. Um, given that Throne of Baal tends to be considered the third part of a trilogy, if we think of Baldur's Gate 1 and Shadows of Arm as parts 1 and 2, I figured I should give the game the proper introduction it deserves, rather than just diving straight into the Throne of Baal content, forming the end of my Shadows of Arm playthrough. So, having finally finished my Shadows of Arm playthrough, I was able to finally have a look at the Baldur's Gate 2 Let's Play by Tord. Of course, my name is not Lily, and as I mentioned in the first video I ever made, the inspiration for this entire project. And I've got to say, I was really fascinated and curious to see how Lily's and Jin's paths diverged and differed. And it looked as if I think Tord, well, obviously there was a few key role-playing choices, and obviously with Lily and her company being primarily evil, and Jin and his company being primarily good. The obvious roleplay ones were, I guess, Jin sided with the Shadow Thieves, the lesser of the two evils, in order to seek help for rescuing Imoen. I think Jin also went to rescue Imoen a lot sooner than Lily bothered to rescue her version of Imoen. But anyway. And of course, Lily sided with Bodhi. I think Tord's reasoning was just because Bodhi offered the discount first, which is fair enough. I like that, and so that's in terms of roleplay. And of course, I think in the test of hell, Lily pretty much chose the opposite of whatever Jin chose. And I think pretty much every single one of those tests, which was all pretty interesting. And gameplay-wise, it was also quite fascinating to see how Tord and I developed quite differing approaches to combat. And obviously, he ended up with mostly all-girls party. Although at one stage, or fair chunks of his adventures, he did have Corgan, who's quite a combat monster. But on the whole, he because he had Lily is a single class mage. He got access to higher level spells much earlier than Jin did, and which meant, and also of course, I think he went to Watcher's Keep, which is a section of his videos I still had to avoid because I've not been there myself. But I think I'm guessing Watcher's Keep provided him with a fair chunk of experience, and also I think he did possibly a few more quests in Shadows of Arm as well, because at the start of Throne of Baal, Jin has just over 3 million experience, and Lily has just over 4 million, which is quite a significant difference. And of course it meant that in the end battles at least, Lily had access to much higher level spells, things that I don't think Jin's even anywhere close to, like Time Stop and well, I guess Jin does Pierce Magic, but I think Lily's party also had things like Held Something's Whip and Ruby Ray of Reversal, spells which we have the scrolls for, but are currently not high level enough to cast. And I guess they would have been very helpful for Jin in all the mage battles where the party kind of struggled a bit. On the flip side, because we have Jin, a fighter mage, and Imoen, a very, very potent fighter cleric, I think Jin's party is, generally speaking, a lot more resilient and much less reliant on summoning and on magic to defeat weaker enemies. So that was pretty interesting to watch. And that's kind of what I've been doing since I finished my own playthrough, watching Tord's videos. But anyway, so I'm ready to get back into Throne of Baal, and I hope. Oh yes, I'm kind of going to steal Tord's idea again. I noticed that he made a nice review of the status of his party at the beginning of Film Ball. So I'm going to do the same thing. I think it's a good idea. In fact, I wish I did it earlier, because obviously throughout the playthrough you might have seen me occasionally, when I level up a character, I'll say what level he or she is becoming. And I did pretty much record every moment of my playthrough, because I wanted to have a full record and a completion. I wouldn't say a completionist playthrough, but a completionist recording, if that makes any sense. But despite that, I think it's quite easy to. It would have been nice if I sort of every now and then compared how everyone is doing, and so you can sort of see the status of the party and how it evolves, which characters are leaving or being substituted, which ones have come back, etc. So maybe I'll do that a bit more in the future. I'm not sure if there's anything else I've forgotten, but yeah, so this time I don't think I'm going to actually get into any new content. All I will do is load up the game, get it started. I'll explain the edited thing in a moment. And I think it's a nice point, like what Tor did, just to review the state of the party and potentially what I think we should do next in terms of their development. Alright, so oh yes, I said I would explain the why this save is edited. So if you might remember, at the final battle in Hell against Irenicus, Imoen fell. Now I assumed that what would happen is all her equipment would, I guess, accumulate in a pile, or somehow be transferred to Jin or the other party members, because that's what happened when I think somebody else might have died. Someone died in a battle against Irenicus at the Tree of Life. Possibly. But yeah, I sort of assumed it would seem logical for the game to sort of keep Imoen's equipment. Given this, I would have obviously picked it up if the game allowed us, but because the game goes straight from the moment of Irenicus' death straight to the cutscene, essentially, with a few conversations with Elysim in between, there was no chance to pick up any equipment. And had I known that was the case, I would have obviously had somebody pick up her stuff or resurrect Imoen in the battle against Irenicus, because to be honest, after we had killed Irenicus' demons, the battle was more or less under control. I didn't really, I think we could have easily spared one character to use the Rod of Resurrection and resurrect Imoen. So it was just a bit silly that I think it's slightly bad design, kind of like the case with the Flail of Ages in the Darnese Hole, and losing all of this would have been pretty crippling. So what I've done then is I've used Shadowkeeper to edit in everything, with a couple of exceptions. I didn't remember how many arrows and what type of arrows Imoen had left, because obviously she expended quite a lot in the battle against Irenicus, so I just didn't bother with that. Her gem bag was absolutely packed with gems, so what I've done is, it was kind of too tedious to bring it back, so what I did was just added 5,000 gold to the treasury, and I also brought this gem back because it's not one I've seen before, and I'm not sure if it has any quest significance. And apart from that, this is exactly the same equipment that she had on her when she fell in battle, which really makes no sense in terms of because when I loaded the game, I was like, what happened to it? Why is Imoen naked? And then I realized, oh yes, of course, she fell in battle, and it makes no sense because when Irenicus was defeated in Hell,
I have a question for you, my friend, and it is something I wish you would treat with the sincerity in which it is meant. Do you believe that your ultimate destiny lies in godhood?
Okay, one moment, Animan. I'm talking to the viewers. Did not expect that. I should have saved the game, really. I mean, paused the game. That's kind of disrupted my line of thinking. Oh yeah, so I was saying, the reason why I didn't think the it made any sense from a roleplay point as well is because when the party defeated Irenicus at the Tree of Life, that was very much a physical battle. It happened in this plane, and Irenicus's physical body was killed essentially. But then, because of the link with Jin's soul, at least this is how I understand it, Jin was pulled into hell along with Irenicus's soul. But his physical form, Alisim explicitly says, Jin had been in a coma, and this should presumably be the same with everyone else in the party. So I'm guessing when Irenicus died, if an elf was standing looking at the battle, he or she would have seen the entire party dropping as if they had died, but they were essentially in a coma. And when they defeated Irenicus in hell, their souls returned from hell and returned to their bodies, restoring themselves to life. And so it makes no sense. I mean, surely the elves would have just held on to Imoen's equipment. In fact, they ideally shouldn't have stripped her anyway. So yeah, it made no sense for me to lose all of Imoen's equipment, which is why that file was edited, and which is why we have her equipment back. And so yeah, Animan has something to say. Do you believe the ultimate destiny lies in godhood? I have no idea, Animan. Anything could happen. I think that's Jin's honest answer. I see. Most interesting. Part of me is very concerned about the future that lies before you. Indeed, before us both. Your taint may win over your intentions at some point. Your taint may win over your intentions at some point. Indeed, I am positive not even the Order knows what to make of you for sure. You could be completely evil, and yet serve the cause of justice unbeknownst to yourself, or the best intentions on your part could lead to all of our destructions. At the very least, the destruction caused by other Valspawn will need to be dealt with, and by Helm. I can have more influence in that by your side than anywhere else. But forgive my rantings. I've talked and rattled on throughout this quest of yours, enough for two men. Lead on and I shall follow Jin. Okay. Animan's become a bit more humble and respectful of Jin, although he appears to have slight suspicions on Jin's intentions, which actually ties on nicely to a point I was going to make. When I was making the edits to bring back Imoen's equipment, I thought about doing something about the alignment. That's because I think throughout most of Shadows of Arm, I've been role-playing Jin pretty much as lawful good, near enough. And so I was kind of rationalized that perhaps with the influence of Aerie, falling in love and all that, he may have lost a touch of the, and obviously finally defeating Irenicus, he may have lost a touch of the cynicism that caused his initial shift from lawful good to lawful neutral from the end of Baldur's Gate 1 to the beginning of Shadows of Arm. But I decided to leave it as it is because it would give me a bit more flexibility in the decisions I would make in the future. And I suppose I've always said that you should think of Jin's actions in this game as not only himself, but also, I think he would, appreciate and respect the opinions of those in his company. And certainly in the case of Minsc and Aerie, they're exception, and Imoen, I guess, exceptionally good and selfless individuals, very courageous, and eager to defend what is good and just. So naturally, Jin, is clearly in love with Aerie and cares a great deal about Imoen. So there is goodness and love in his heart. But the reason why I've kept it at neutral, and that reflects how he mostly acts anyway. But the reason why it's neutral is because I personally have a very high standard for what I think a good character should be, and I think Jin, given I think I've provided examples in the past, but Jin would make morally questionable decisions for what he would regard as the greater good, perhaps, and he's not immune to temptation. So, yeah, that explains why sort of you can think of him as on the boundary between good and neutral. So in the end, I decided to keep it as it is. I don't think it's particularly significant anyway. Anyway, so I said I was going to do a quick review of where everyone is. So might as well start with Jin, where everyone is in terms of character development and skills, etc. So yeah, he's just got a 3.1 million experience in total. Getting some nice boosts, bonuses from the Tears of Baal towards the end of the Shadows of Arm. I kind of messed up his weapon proficiencies. So he's, his combat ability is it's okay, but it's not as great as it could be. In all honesty, I think his saves are pretty good now, and like I said, weapon proficiencies. Obviously, it's being a blind playthrough. I had no idea Jim would end up using Celestial Fury primarily, so he only started training to use katanas after we found Celestial Fury. So it's not ideal, but anyways, that's fine. He's pretty tough. He's pretty tanky with the correct magical protections on it anyway. Just means he's not quite a killing machine in combat. So yeah, these are his stats. Let's see how he's done so far in the game. Okay, so most dangerous enemies taken down his Bodhi. I'm surprised his favorite weapon is still longsword. Because when I set this record, I'm not sure how this is done, because if the record includes all of Baldur's Gate 1, then Scimitar should feature quite heavily. And he only used longsword for the beginning of Baldur's Gate 2, I think the Blade of Roses, that's what it's called. I'm not sure why that still says longsword. Anyway, that's not important. So 25% contribution, which is fair enough. He's been along all the time, essentially he's the main character, and that seems fair enough, pretty much around what I'd expect. Imoen is arguably stronger than Jin. Let's see, he is 2.8 million experience, level 20 cleric. I think he has access to the highest level spells in the game, not in the game, in the party. He's also his base Thackle, is that what you call it? I'm not sure. I've not played Dungeons and Dragons before, so I'm not sure what the terminology is for pronouncing that. But yeah, it's not great. But he can improve himself with Draw Upon Holy Might, which is a very useful spell, in my opinion, for a fairly low-level spell. And he's been training with flails, obviously to use the Flail of Ages. He has high mastery, I think only grand mastery left, and those are his stats, so I'm guessing they're going to be a bit inferior compared to what Jin has. Performance-wise, perhaps not surprisingly, he's actually got the most contribution in the entire party, I think, at 28%. In terms of, I view this figure as more important than this one, because this I think reflects how powerful the enemy is as well. And I'm kind of surprised the most powerful enemy he's taken down is just the Baldur, which is powerful, but we've also taken down things like lesser demon lords, several dragons, and I'm pretty sure a dragon is stronger than a Baldur, so it's kind of surprising. And not surprisingly, Flail of Ages is his favorite weapon. That's Imoen. In terms of roleplay, I think it's worth mentioning. I think beginning of the Jin's journey in Arm, I think Jin would have found Imoen a bit of a difficult companion. They're both kind of slightly arrogant, both alpha males, both think of themselves as leaders, perhaps with a degree of destiny about themselves. So yeah, I think it's fair enough to expect there would have been some tension, and I think the tension manifested in some physical violence between the two for various reasons in Spellhold. I think it was primarily due to Jin turning into the Slayer, and Imoen getting dominated, I think, by a Mind Flayer at some stage. Okay, so Now we come on to Minsk, similarly 2.8 million experience. And that is incredible. I didn't realize how good Minsk really was until quite recently. I know he's got the the girdle or belt of I think frost giant strength, so we did kind of give him the best strength weapons anyway. But still, -6 is quite incredible. Um, and of course, his sadly he cannot really become more proficient with the weapons he uses because he's a ranger. And yeah, he's not the most resilient of warriors, but he sure hits really hard. I mean, yeah, the number of times I've sort of opened my mouth in amazement at the amount of damage Minsk does with every hit. And of course, now with a silver sword, he can quite easily take down pretty powerful enemies in one hit if they fail their saves. Um, and yeah, so the most powerful enemy vanquished, Firecrag, a dragon. Minsk is a dragon slayer. 26%, pretty impressive, especially as Minsk tends to get substituted out quite a lot. So 200 weapon is his favorite. Yeah, as you can see, time spent with the party only 21 days, 4 hours. That's surprisingly low. Let's see what it is for Animan. 55 days, 9 hours. Yeah, so there's been fairly long chunks of the game where Minsk has been substituted. 85 days for Jim, so that's total. Chihiro out of Kiosk, 81 days. Alright, so Chihiro has been pretty much ever by Jin's side, which probably explains why. She's close to, I guess that's close to 3 million experience, 2.9. And she has also 0, which means I think I underestimate how good of a fighter Chihiro really is. Again, quarterstaff is her primary weapon, along with slings. These are her other stats. And yeah, I'm not surprised that her contribution in terms of kills is significantly lower. What does surprise me a little bit is Perth the Adept somehow is still the most powerful enemy vanquished. And didn't think Perth was particularly dangerous, but anyway, that seems to be the case. And yeah, of course, this isn't particularly surprising because Chihiro is more of a support character, buffing and summoning. The fire elementals were pretty critical for the early stages of Shadows of Arm. Alright, Aerie, obviously Jin's love interest. So ever since she's joined the party, she's never left, which is why she's been around 80 days. The most powerful enemy taken down is actually only a Demon Knight, which again isn't perhaps as dangerous as, yeah, perhaps I expected something slightly stronger. Minute Meteor's a very good spell, which apparently counts as a weapon. Her contribution in terms of experience is not as high as I thought it might have been. Yeah, that's slightly surprising. I guess I tend to use her. I guess what happens a lot of the time is magic users would soften up an enemy and they get finished off by the warriors. So yeah, you know, Aerie would cast Breach and Minsk would go in with a two-handed sword and hack it to pieces once it's been breached. So I guess that kind of makes sense. So that's Aerie and Imoen. Imoen, of course, was away from the party for a long time, trapped in Spellhold, which means she significantly has less experience than everyone else. That's one thing I noticed about Thor's playthrough. So I think even though his party had, well, Lydia had 4 million experience by the time he started Throne of Baal, I think his Imoen was at a similar level to my Imoen, and that's because I think he spent a lot longer doing side quests before going to Spellhold. And also the other thing is I think my party is generally a lot more balanced. Where I mean I have substituted characters out quite a lot. It's kind of weird I'm not sure if that seems a bit strange. I know I've substituted Minsk probably the most, but I still would have thought he would have been around longer than that. Especially given how much he's contributed in terms of kills. I'm also wondering who then brought down with things like Lesser Demon Lord, Shadow Dragon, the Black Dragon. I wonder if perhaps Minsk took down all of them, and but Firecrag is the most dangerous and the most powerful one, which means we can't see if anyone else done it. That would make sense. Anyway, and of course Irenicus himself, although I'm not sure if Irenicus would show up. I don't recall seeing an experience pop up when Irenicus fell. Okay, so I'm rambling on a little bit. Sorry for that. So yeah, for Imoen, she's been around in Canopy. Yeah, so see, even Imoen has been around for 47 days. So I think that the thing for Minsk must have been a bit bugged. Maybe because, yeah, I'm not sure why. Anyway, the most dangerous enemy she's taking down is Tani and Illitherid. Again, not very dangerous. Not very powerful in particular. She's not been around very long, so I think her contribution is understandable. And that is the state of the current party. And I guess I think I'll end this video here. And next time we will continue with Dawn of Val properly. I look forward to seeing you then.